My name is Joe Wolf, and this video was made on July 31st, 2024. Video is intended to document defects in stamped concrete that was installed at our home in Olympia, Washington. As you can see, we've got lines that are not part of the pattern, as well as some very, very light areas where the stamp just was not pressed in enough to even make an impression on the wet concrete. And of course, it has left lines throughout the concrete that look to be the edge of the stamp itself. And in addition to that, you've got some deeper recessed areas, again indicative of just a very uneven application of the stamp. So we'll take a closer look at some of these defects and the impacts that have resulted in the week since the patio and the finish were applied. See those spots, all those darker areas. You can see that there's larger spots where water is pooling up on the concrete itself, indicative of some issues with the grading of the concrete. The runoff's just not happening, and so that water's pooling up. And on exposed concrete, that well over time erode it faster than the elements normally would. You got some very light areas where the stain just did not adhere despite any application efforts that were made. You got those darker areas again. You've got areas along the edges and the seam where the stamped concrete portion was just never finished. A great example of one of those darker areas where it filled with stain, then filled with water. The water and the stain eventually ran out, creating a very distinct run, but also creating a spot where you've got exposed concrete. And I'll give you a good example of what that looks like right here. As you can see, that concrete itself is a little bit rougher, indicative of some erosion issues. It's very inconsistent with what stamped concrete is, or even the rest of this patio where the stamp is fairly smooth. Another great example of that right here. You can really see the aggregate in this one. It's rough to the touch, and very porous. Come over here, some of these lighter areas, you get a little bit of a look at those edges that were just left unfinished. Some more light areas. Water pooling, another light area, just exposed gray concrete. Over here, you've got a spot where an attempt was made to fix a boot print. Actually, there were several boot prints left in the finish when the applicators left, and they came back 2 days later in an attempt to fix those. They did try to fix some. As you can see, they used solvent to remove the stain, and the shape of the boot remains. There are other areas where they didn't see them. There was no attempt made to fix the boot print at all, and you can see those. Add some pictures to the end of this video. Again, those lower areas, the edges where it's just been left unfinished. Darker recessed spots, larger spots that are allowing water to pool at the edge, indicative of grading issues. This concrete is going to need to be replaced. These are pictures of the boot prints that were left by the finish applicators on July 25th, 2024. And these are their attempts to fix those boot prints. And that's just a picture of a form that was left in the concrete. This section of the video documents concrete overspray from the pour and the actual work that's just never cleaned up or even thought about by the installers. Kind of created a mess. And then over here you just got some excess aggregate from the base. I'm not even sure how that got over there, but there it is. This segment of the video is just documenting the edges of the stamped concrete. These edges, they just never got finished. And here you see where two portions of the form came together to form a really odd curve. A little bit more of just the stamped sections of the concrete not being finished. You can see that water pooling in those recessed areas we were looking at before, some more unfinished edges. Where it really becomes pronounced is where the two new slabs of concrete come together. There's one of the thinner areas that the stain and seal did not adhere to. Another piece where you got some exposed aggregate, again the seal just not sticking. Here's the midpoint where the two slabs come together, and you can see on the left side they finished it pretty well, and on the right side they just didn't get to the edge, and it looks very unfinished. Some more unfinished pieces next to the older slab. Just some leftover concrete. And that's the section where the water's pooling. This is taken at about 7 p.m. on a very hot day. It reached about 90 degrees with sun on it from 6. Yet that standing water remains every day. I'm sure it will during the rainy season. We've had several concrete contractors come on last week to give us bids to repair or replace this concrete slab. And in each case, the contractors have recommended that we pull this up and replace it due to the grade and the water retention. On Tuesday, August 6th, we had a contractor come out, and he pointed out that there's actually a lip on the edge of this concrete. You can see here towards the lower half of the screen that retains water, and you can spray gallons of water on this concrete and it will retain it. In the rainy season, this is going to be a very difficult situation, and for that reason we're going to go with the contractor's unanimous recommendation to replace this concrete.